Names and faces is something people ask me about a lot.
How do you do names and faces?
In this process, it sounds simple, but it works. I just spoke at a meeting yesterday, and there was probably 150 people in the audience. And as they walked in, I stood at the door and I shook 150 people's hands. And then when I got up on stage, I said, everybody stand up. 150 people stood up.
Come on.
No. They put their hands over their name tags, and they're like, there is no way.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm serious.
You named all the 150.
I got 149. There was this one guy named Joe, and I could not think of his name, but I got 149 out of 150. But the process itself is actually pretty simple, and this is what I do. For example, you meet me right now, black eyes probably is what's going to stand out. But hopefully, and I'm hoping, it's going to be gone in a week, you know. So you need to look at my face and pick out something that you think's going to be there in a week or 2 weeks. Maybe the beard, maybe the high hairline right here, whatever. You pick out something unique on the face, and then you take their name. For example, Patrick. It's leprechaun for me, right? So I actually visualize a leprechaun running across your eyebrows right there, running back and forth, you know, maybe eating Lucky Charms or whatever. Don't hit me or anything, all right? It's not an insulting picture, okay? But that's how I do it. So when I was at that conference yesterday, this lady walks in. She's got really pretty eyes. I say, hi, my name's Ron. She says her name is Lisa. Instantly, I'm painting the Mona Lisa in her eyes. I go to the next guy. This guy, he had huge ears. And he said, my name is Steve. Instantly, I'm cooking his ears in a stove. So then there was a guy named Mark. He had a really dark beard. So I imagine I was coloring in his beard with a marker. So now I get in front of the audience. I say, everybody stand up. I'm not actually trying to remember their names. I'm just trying to remember what stood out on their face. Oh, it was her eyebrows. It was his beard. It was his ears. And then I remember the picture, and then I remember the name.
Now, does it have to be in order or no? Not at all?
Not for that. It doesn't have to be in order.
Really? So yours is not like in order of letters, like to have a musical sound of way of memorizing it. It's the visual for you.
Visual, yes.
Okay.
You know, there's been scientific studies on this. They had college studies where they took a group of college students and they put them in an auditorium and they gave a list of 100 words. And they said them verbally, spaced out by 5 seconds. Then they tested their recall. And then they took a second group of students and they gave them 100 words, but it was 100 words with images. Instead of saying the word house, they had a picture of a house in a PowerPoint presentation. Then they tested them. The recall on what they saw versus the group that just heard the words was 7-8-fold. I mean, it was a dramatic difference. We remember what we see.
Let me ask you, how valuable of a skill set is this? How valuable is this? I mean, I think about it in the business world, it's extremely valuable. But how valuable is this? I mean, because you're in the world, so when you're selling this, who's buying it from you? Who are the people that are coming to your conferences? Who are the people that are coming to your 3 days? Or who's inviting you to come and speak? I imagine one part of it is entertainment aspect of it, but forget about the entertainment aspect of it. Are corporations, are companies bringing you in because you can bring value to their executives?
It is, yes. And you know, sometimes I do get pinholed as the entertainment or the comedy because people are laughing. When you just repeated 150 names and you just saw, they're like laughing because they don't know how to react to it. But I tell them this is so much more than comedy. This is valuable education. Think about it. Let's say that you sell real estate, or you sell automobiles, or you sell insurance, or you sell anything, and you meet somebody today, a prospect, and in 6 weeks you're at the Dallas Cowboy game or the Texas Rangers game or some other sports team, Starbucks, and you see that person and you're able to say, Patrick, how are you doing, man? Hey, it's so good to see you. You know, I haven't seen you in 3 weeks, and you're able to ask them about their families by name. It's powerful. So building relationships. You and I talked earlier, and you brought this up. You brought up Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. In that book, he said everybody's favorite subject is themselves, and the sweetest sound of their ear is the sound of their own name.
That's right.
There is a guy here in Dallas. I was at a meeting, and I memorized a 50-digit number, and I said it forwards and backwards. I did it for his group there. He had hired me. And he said, Ron, if you teach me how to do that, I'll give you $100,000. And I thought, well, he's got to be joking because he's paid me to be here and he's not giving me $100,000. So I laughed it off and I went on. At the end of my speech, a guy at the back of the room says, Ron, I could say that 50-digit number now. Well, the guy who had hired me turned to that guy who's named Jerry. He said, Jerry, if you say the 50-digit number, I'll give you the $100,000. And I'm like, what? I just said it, you know? And so Jerry says the 50-digit number. He wrote him a check for $100,000. He takes the check over to him. 3 days later, Jerry emails me, Ron, I cashed the check. The money's in my bank. I have $100,000. I owe you dinner. I'm like, you don't owe me dinner. You owe me a car. You know? But
Is this guy's initials AB?
They are not. They are not.
Are you sure about that?
Yes. He's got an office off here off of 635 and the tollway. His name is on the side of that building. But
because this guy's name I'm saying, his name is on a lot of buildings.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a local Dallas guy as well. But anyways, go again. So he pays $100,000 to this guy.
He pays $100,000.
Does the guy end up buying you a car, or no? He just got you lunch or dinner.
I skipped that guy. I went after the guy that wrote the check.
Okay.
Because my wheels started turning.
Of course.
This guy's got 900 employees. And I emailed him and I said, sir, you know what? He's given me permission to use his name. Matter of fact, he's told me it's okay to use his name. I'm going to say his name. His name's Brent Ryan. He owns a company called Ryan.
Okay.
And I said, Mr. Ryan, you have 900 employees. Why don't I teach you how to memorize those employees' names? And I quoted him a fee, and that part I'll keep quiet. I quoted him a fee that was less than $100,000, but it was still had some zeros in there. Sure. And I went to his office. He wrote me that check, and he said, Ron, a lot of people think this is a lot of money to give to a guy who's just going to teach me how to remember names. He said, but it's not just remembering names. He said, the reason I got a company that's making so much money and I can write a $100,000 check on a bet is because I know how to leverage skills. He said, I'm going to take this skill of remembering names and I'm going to leverage it to make more money. So I guess that's kind of a long story to answer your question of the value of remembering names. This guy who's making so much money,
worth well more than $100,000 to learn this ability.
Yeah, and so he used it to memorize the names of his employees.
What other industries have showed interest like this gentleman did, Ryan, to learn? Like what else have you learned? Who else has approached you?
You know, it's a lot of entrepreneurs. It's a lot of salespeople that they really seem to grasp onto it a lot because I think the interpersonal skills of remembering names is really going to impact the pocketbook. But it's not just that. It's people who have to stand up in front of groups and give presentations. Because when you can stand up in front of a group and give a presentation and not have to read your PowerPoint or not have to read your notes, instantly you become a more dynamic speaker. You become a more charismatic speaker. You become a speaker that appears more knowledgeable of your subject matter. So people who have to give speeches, any person who's taken any type of exams or test for their certifications or whatever, they are taking this course so they can take those exams without stress. So it's just a wide range of people.